Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of MTG Arena. This is Wednesday, October 23rd. Let's hop into our next game. And we may only have two recordings today. There's not a lot of news, and there's not a lot of games that are going to have anything worth saying to them. And we're already, after the first hour of gameplay, we're already in a position where we are doing very well off with the daily quests, and we just need daily wins, which I'm still trying to play ranked and get up in rank, but I'm not really getting any further with that. Monday we'll do the constructed draft challenge, and after that point we'll just have to determine so a defender can't attack, so you'd have to kind of silence your own character if you wanted them to attack, and I don't know if there's even a card to remove defender without removing all the abilities. And silence, I know, is a key phrase from Hearthstone. We're still going to use a lot of these key phrases. In fact, some of the key phrases would be very well off if they were stolen from Hearthstone directly, to simplify some stuff. Some of their key phrases aren't as obvious as I'd like them to be. Sacrifice a permanent. So, starting with the news, Game of Sutra has an article here. Sandbox VR has raised 11 million thanks to celebrity contributions, notable musicians and actors, which is certainly the sign of a failed tech challenge, I'd say. Sure. Do 1 damage to everything. Oh, what was that chain animation all about? I was listening to some podcast or something, and even big podcasters that were big into VR are starting to say, "Yeah, we're done with VR. There's nothing new to see. It's all on to ray tracing now, which ray tracing is something I think will be embraced a lot easier and better by consoles and consumers alike." Console makers and consumers, and frankly, ray tracing addresses a lack of ability that has been in video games for a very long time that actually could be fixed efficiently and should be fixed, whereas VR is trying to add a new ability that we can live without. Games have very consistently had problems doing lighting and reflections and opaque reflections and such. So if that just started to work, that is great. I also heard a different podcast where somebody was talking about just how good NVIDIA is at branding, that they have effectively made it seem to the average person like RTX and ray tracing is a NVIDIA technology alone. I could tap this if I wanted to. Otherwise, we have a defender that would I mean, we defend with that and it's trample, so we might as well do this. Yeah, I don't see why that animation exists like that. Does this want to block me? Probably. So I'm gonna say no attacks. And honestly, if they just polished ray tracing for the next 4, 5, 6 years, even the next 10 years, if they just polished that and made that work a lot better, that would be fine. Otherwise, they'll just move to the next thing. Like NVIDIA before ray tracing had cloth texture mapping and hair effects and other lighting schemes and physics for better calculation of 3D objects. So all of those things were at one time the next big thing, and they were used to 1 damage and you draw a card. 1 damage, then you target. Why is this guy getting health? How did this guy heal? I'm doing worse, not better. No, I'm gonna hold off on that one. No, I'm still gonna use that. Even the game is going, are you sure? Right. No attacks. So yeah, I think ray tracing will come and go and eventually get polished on, and then we probably could hit a point where we could tweak like water tessellations and anti-aliasing more, and just like pre-rendered animations and a animation cache in some kind of memory on a video card would be something I think they should work on a lot more. Faster RAM and stuff like that. There's more hardware based issues. With ray tracing, there could be an extension to like better bullet physics and hit detection in first person shooters. I'm not sure if that really needs to be worked on though. Perhaps better zooming. If every game had the ability if every game was encouraged to have a scope ability that zoomed in on images and let you look at faraway things, and thus every game focused on that would be an interesting idea too. See, exile cards and then play them. I'm not ready to do that. Let's see, let's play that. That probably should have been on the field. Indestructible. Effects that say destroy don't destroy a permanent with indestructible, and its creature, if it's a creature, can't be destroyed by damage. Interesting. Well, I don't know what to do there then. This animation's way too long for as often as you're gonna do it. I can't read any of this text. I'd like to be able to right click on this again. And clearly they know you can't read half this text because they make it several font sizes bigger over on the side, telling the general idea. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Bring It Down, which looks like a first-person shooter, but actually is a VR Bloom Box clone, where you're shooting out of a gun for no reason, which makes it definitely feel like an asset flip game. 15% off for $16.99, which is too expensive. English, allegedly full audio. Not a VR game. Well, yes, a VR game, but doesn't require VR. But even for a VR game, it's particularly expensive considering what it is. And that is accounting for VR games being usually overpriced. This game is just going to go on forever because unless he just gets bored and concedes. Here's the problem: is he's just has to do the math now. It's like what can we attack with? What can we defend with? What can I defend with? Seems like. Right. 3 damage to target opponent. Player discards 2 cards. 1 damage to creature planeswalker, and 1 damage to permanent's controller. 3 damage to target permanent. Let's see. This is the spectate card. I don't want to do that one yet. Or a spectacle card. Next game we have on Steam is called Click Commander. By the looks of it, you can see it's a terrible MS-DOS looking game, just total garbage. Early access for $7.99, English only. Doesn't deserve even that much description. So we'll show it off and just move on. It's funny, we kind of go in waves in the past few weeks. It's been like there's one week where you get good games approved, and then there's 1 week where it's mostly garbage. I imagine a lot of that just has to do with competition and AAA games coming out, or finally starting to come out for the Christmas holiday season, which is starting even now before Halloween. So yeah, there's just nothing. And in all fairness, sometimes a good week on Steam is that you just get a bunch of at least moderately nicely animated visual novel games that are adult games. Okay. How does Spectacle work? So opponent loses life this turn. And then we play this for the spectacle cost. And then this is gonna exile the top 2 cards off my deck, which puts them over here. Which we can play the spectacle cost here again to exile a couple more cards from my deck. You can play this And then I think we can play these too. But I don't understand the strategy here. Alright, we can't play that. Alright, so we can play this, and we can play this. Let's see. Does any of this have any powers at all? Like, I don't think so. So yeah, I don't know how you... what the strategy here is. I've got a bunch of minions on the field. He's got a bunch of minions on the field. I can't attack because all his minions are way stronger.
Spring eternal.
What did that do? You get emblem. Lands you control have indestructible. Search your library for any number of forest cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped. Shuffle your library. So she's just... I didn't even know emblems were a thing. So... that's interesting. So he just played 14 lands. And this is still alive. So what he's effectively done is removed all the lands from his deck, leaving him with just 29 cards compared to my 40 cards. But is this just going to be a game that goes on forever? And here's the question. Let's see. We have this and this and if we did this one and this one and this one, and then these are just all lands. They'll take damage, so I've gotta do that and do that. See how this works. So trample, is it gonna do damage and then damage then damage? Is that how this is gonna work? Or is it gonna do damage, 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 and then if it add any extra life? Okay. Deal 1 damage to that one. 1 damage to that one. 1 damage to that one. That's hexproof. There. And there. And there. And there. And there. And there.
Fight on without me.
I did not play that right. See, well, might as well play that. This Looks interesting. I don't think I played right there at all. I think I missed some things. I think I definitely missed some things. Meanwhile, he's got plenty of food tokens, so he could just refill his entire health. This is a really slow game, so I'm learning here. And this is really, unfortunately for all collectible card games, this is the way you learn, is getting your butt handed to you and going in these long, slow experiences and just like really not having a lucky experience, to say the least. And for younger players of games, that's probably not a good experience. So you have to be extremely gentle if you're a adult trying to teach a kid a game. That's why we have things like Candyland and such. Let's see. I don't know why I just tapped a mana. And then choose blockers. Right, this here. And this. Doesn't that say it can't be blocked? So how am I blocking? I'm blocking, but I'm gonna lose anyways. There we go. I don't understand the strategy of that deck at all. That's probably a problem. Cult of Rakdos. Don't understand it. Next game we have on Steam is called Screensaver VR. It seems like it's, I don't know if you could call it straight up copyright infringement of old screensavers, but because they were kind of simplistic in their own ideas. But certainly these old screensavers don't look particularly good, nor is there any reason for you to use them on a modern monitor. Monitors even have technology now that will move pixels around if they're not getting refreshed enough, so screen burn-in is extremely unlikely, and frankly just going to a full black screen was probably always the right solution. So $4.99 for an English-only VR experience of looking at screensavers is probably the definition of a low-effort game, more than anything else I've ever seen. So, yeah. It's inter-tapped, I guess. Since we've got nothing better we can play. And inter-tapped again. Let's see. Next game we have on Steam is called Beauty the Digger. This looks like it is a Spelunky clone platformer game. It has some dark screenshot syndrome. Seems like most of the game is done in Aura of Darkness. It's $1.99. It's English and Russian. I assume this is probably just a Russian low effort game. I'm not sure. I go as far as to call it a troll game, but low effort game for sure. Let's see. Defender doesn't have reach, so we can now try to get more mana, which we need to do. Let's see. Surveil 1. Whenever you surveil, return this to the owner's hand. Each opponent discards a card. Interesting. So I know what we're doing here then. We draw a card and then we discard a card. So I'm gonna discard that. And he's... Oh, I guess I clicked and discarded something else on accident. Go. So we're going for a deck destruction strategy here. The thing is, allegedly at least, Magic the Gathering Arena matches you with the same decks that you're playing, so he's probably playing the exact same deck that I am. So until I get to that point where I am ready for the next big thing. Yeah, don't I? Oh, only the opponent's discarding cards. I'm not discarding cards. Great. Well, then this is great. Then go ahead and attack. And we'll keep that card. I think we've got this. Because he can surveil any card he wants, but it doesn't matter because I can just play this every turn and get rid of him. There's this. And surveil. Gonna go ahead and just put that in the graveyard because I don't think I'm ready for that. Now, can I attack? Yes, I can. Keep that on. I like that card. I want to try that. Next game we have on Steam is called Outscape, which looks like it's a space MMO. Nothing wrong with it, but these space games never interest me. It's early access. It's $22.49. It's an online MMO with a third-party account information, and it's English only. I don't think Outscape is going to be, if I was just to guess, I don't think it's going to be in the top few. The top few space MMOs out there. It's not going to be something like EVE Online or some of the other things to consider. Okay, we need to do something else. Destroy target creature. Surveil 2. Didn't have enough. You're on kind of a lack of mana situation here, where your control of a creature of power 2 or less. We could steal this. That would probably be fine. Or we could steal that. Go ahead and block that. And we lost. Interesting game, but it seems like that deck is probably going to need some more work. And I think I'm at just the bottom of the barrel as far as the gold rank. Moving on to the next. TechRaptor has an article here. Northgard Conquest marches out on Steam today. This looks like it's a top-down real-time strategy game. We've got a trailer here we can skip through and see. Yeah. Looks like a real-time strategy game. Now, honestly, though, this might be an interesting equivalent clone to Warcraft, but the question really comes down to, do people want to play Warcraft? I'm in this weird position that I hadn't thought of until probably a couple days ago. I would say it finally occurred to me. It's like, it's not just that we're boycotting Blizzard right now because of... And, well, it's not that we're boycotting Blizzard right now, and thus I can't play Hearthstone, which was the modern Activision Blizzard game I was playing. It also kind of has to retroactively go back to the level of where it really wouldn't be right to play Diablo 1 or Warcraft 1 or StarCraft 1. So of those three classic, like heavily influential, super important to mention in the history, the annals of history in the video game world, like all of those games now need modern replacements. Now Diablo has Torchlight, which I did cover, and frankly you'd still probably be better off playing Diablo. Can we gain 2 life? No. If I could undo that and untap, I could have done that, but I just played out of order, so we'll just have to leave everything. So what happens when I hit enter? It goes all attacks. So when I hit pass, so enter and space sometimes do different things. So that's important to recognize. I don't know if there really is a need for a Warcraft replacement, though. Like, Warcraft in a lot of ways was replaced in itself with StarCraft, and the original Warcraft games don't really do anything too different from StarCraft. It's just StarCraft is set in the world of sci-fi, and Warcraft is set in the world of fantasy. green life and draw a card. Sweet. So what would defend against this? I guess both of these could defend against this, and so that those do no attack. So if I can get as many minions on the field as possible, that's so we have no mana, so let's do this. So we have a land to play. And then tap, gain 2 life, and then these could be something it defends with, but I'm not sure. So you're kind of just building up, waiting. Destroy a target creature, and then as soon as there's another pet available to me, I'm almost certainly going to get away from a fox, just because the sound effects, the dog sound effects are a little bit annoying. I kind of want them just to be silent. But there's kind of no way to do that. Gamma Sutra has an article here. The Children's Commissioner for England wants urgent action to combat loot boxes. It seems like they are taking it seriously. I suppose in the first meeting there was this potential thought that they weren't really going to take it seriously and they were just going to just have a kind of public flogging for loot boxes and EA and people that put loot boxes in games, but it seems to me like by the second event that happened, it was pretty obvious that they were out for blood, and I think they make some good arguments. Oh no, can I undo that? Seriously, game? Didn't want to drop the land that I just got and discard it. I've got to really learn how these cards work, or I'm just going to continue to make these dumb mistakes. And sure, I made dumb mistakes in Hearthstone, but they seem to matter a lot more. On the other hand, as far as the Children's Commissioner for England wanting urgent action to combat loot boxes, the plan to force every single citizen in the UK into identifying themselves if they wanted to access porn sites has been abandoned, and that was a big deal that they talked about for a long time, and they just kind of gave up on it. Let's see. So it could be, and I guess maybe this is a this might be a situation where the Brexit situation in the UK just shows how they're very much not on the same page as a lot of times. So maybe England will pass some laws saying loot boxes are going to be regulated, that a game that we deem as targeted towards kids can't have loot boxes in it at all. It's probably a good move. The US should pass some of these laws every now and then, too. But it might be that they get 5 minutes from enacting something, a rule like that, and then they just kind of abandon it in the last moment. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Alright, so at this point I'm just going to switch to play mode, and I'm just going to play because the only thing I really need are victories, and I do want to, at least on stream days, try to get all 15 victories, because that gives me cards and packs, and frankly I should be playing every single day, but I don't have time for that. So 15 games is still a lot of games, and I guess if people aren't playing Magic Arena, they're probably playing a lot of Magic Online. That would certainly explain how the hardest of the most hardcore fans of these games could find enough people willing to play on a daily basis without having like a weekly game night and going to a comic book shop, which I imagine a lot of people are doing that on top of playing Magic Online. Ooh, let's not do that. Tech Raptor has an article here. The humble female protagonist sale highlights heroines. That is a lot of H's. So we'll talk about this later, but yeah, seems like that's the next sale. So I'm mentioning it early for no reason. I shouldn't have opened that page, come to think of it. Yeah, gotta think these things through more. Put that on the field. What does this do? Each creature you can turn in the battlefield enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter. Move a +1/+1 counter. Okay. So if I activated this, I couldn't cast anything. +1/+1 on a character. Let's see. Choose any number of what does proliferate do? Any number of permanents and or players. They then give each another counter of each kind already there. Okay. So it increases counters. This cost is modified. Can I play this? I don't know how I cast that spell though. Cost 1 less, I guess. Interesting. OpenCritic has some reviews for Medieval. They gave it a overall summary of fair. The top critic average is 70% and only 38% recommend it. I don't think too many people were really thinking that the remake of Medieval was going to be a major remaster to something that would bring a lot of new people. It certainly didn't get a lot of coverage because like I didn't even know it was coming out this week, and that's saying something. Okay. Can we? So we need to move counters over on this character and over on this counter. That way everybody gets one more counter. Is what we're trying to do. Just trying to get as many +1/+1 counters on the field as possible. Which, if you were playing real world Magic, dealing with all those counters can be a hassle. And sometimes they just use dice instead as an indicator of counters. But you end up needing a lot of +1/+1s across many different characters. The whole system's kind of broken, to say the least. Put this on the field. What does this one do? Incubation Druid. 3 mana types instead. I want to move a counter over here and over here. What did I just do? Creatures move a +1 counter from a target creature to another one on the target. Ah, man, I did that wrong. I should have selected this card and then this card. That's what I was trying to do. Well, I feel like I've made some progress though. Like 2 days ago, I was barely even paying attention to a lot of these cards. Today, I'm really trying to learn. So, and I think a lot of that may just be that I've slept better. So yeah, I feel like I'm learning a lot, which also means I recognize that I'm not doing particularly well. We didn't get, I think, even a single victory. Right. Discard a card. Alright, so we wanted to move a card from here to here. Alright, then we wanted to, like, see, adapt, I guess. And then go and put this on the field. And then no attacks. And so this is going to be a game of moving tokens and then using this ability to give a +1/+1 counter. Well, no, this only gives +1/+1 counters to things that have been played on it. So what was the thing that would double? Or give... Alright, so is there anything here we want to block with? Not really. replace this. This. And then resolve. Resolve so I can play this card, which I can't play until you do resolve, which seems unnecessary. Just let me play out of turn. Like, I know that's probably bad manners, particularly in Magic, but frankly, just let me do it, you know? Just let me play out of turn. Alright, now. Adapt. And then, come on, resolve some more. Draw and discard, I guess. Add 1 mana of any type of mana that you could produce. I could add 3 mana. That's not going to be super useful right now, but is there any other ability that we can do? No, not right now. Next. I think we've got this next turn. Though. No attacks. Although I probably could have attacked on second thought, but whatever. See if we can just get everything ready. Let's see. Proliferate. Choose any number of permanents and then give another counter for each kind they already have. That's the thing we want to do next. That's the spell. That is the spell. Is there anything I can do here? No. Okay. So I destroyed one of my characters. Now what's gonna suck here is we're gonna have to do some counting. So 3 plus 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, I believe, is the right count that we're gonna put on this. Meanwhile, Gamatsu has an article here. The Legend of the Dark Witch is coming to Switch on October 24th. This looks like it's a platforming game. Looks like it's a little eShop game. It first launched on the 3DS in 2014, followed by Vita in 2015, and is on Steam. So, let's see, there's a Steam page, so we'll just look at the Steam page. I gotta resolve. Forgot about that. It definitely gets slow. It definitely gets slow. And I don't know if that's a network issue in particular or what. So here's the Legend of the Dark Witch. It seems like it is a platforming game of some sort that is rated mostly popular. So since this came out in 2015, since it makes the limits, it reaches the requirements to be on the wish list, I think I put the Legend of the Dark Witch on the wish list. So it's a $4.99 game, no discount right now, full Japanese audio, English and Chinese subtitle support. Apparently there's a sequel called Legend of the Dark Witch 2, which also is positive. So there's something to this people like. So I'm going to put it on the wish list as potentially a hidden gem. What does this do? Cost 1 less. Okay. I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And auto pay for 7. And double. So now I have a 14, 15 with trample. And let's see. I'm just gonna see. We don't have any more mana, so we can't really do anything. Can we? So I'll attack. And you decide what you want to defend against. Yeah, so the Legend of the Dark Witch series goes to my wish list. I think it's one of those niche hidden gem potential games that are out there. Alright, now. Don't want to block that. Don't want to block. What do I want to block? Can't block that. I can only block a couple of these things. So we'll do that. Or no, we'll do this. And that's still probably a loss. Yep, I lost. I lost because I didn't do the math. Interesting strategy this deck. Get a lot of counters and then get one beefed up guy because of the +1/+1 counter. At least I'm starting to understand this. At some point I might want to rename all of these decks to the strategies that they're playing instead of trying to have a correlation in my head between the name of a deck and what strategy it's playing. So yeah, I could see the Switch version coming out October 24th of Legend of the Dark Witch 1 being a small game that people like. Although I do kind of have to question why not start with a combined game? Yeah. I don't get that. Like I don't see a reason not to just just have both games in a bundle and sell it that way, considering it's a pretty relatively old game now. Right. What does this one do? This is the one that's tapped, creates a 1/1 with lifelink. Gamatsu has an article here. Project Sekai colorful stage featuring Hatsune Miku. First detailed footage. So here's Hatsune Miku, and here's a bunch of other anime characters, I guess, maybe from Project Sekai. Or so this is probably a combination of maybe Project Sekai is a visual novel creator, and they're doing a collab or something, and a smartphone game version, and a gacha game, I imagine. Yep. Let's see. Seems like there's a lot of characters here I don't recognize. I don't know if this is a music game. It looks like it might be. Alright, do we want to block? No. There's a video here. I'll skip through the video and see if the trailer explains itself any better. No, it seems like it is, at its core, a music game. Yeah, at its core, it seems like it is a music game in the same sense of like Rock Band and such. I guess maybe there's either a bit of a renaissance or a delayed acceptance of music games in Japan. That might be what's going on here. Target creature gets +1/+1 to the end of the turn. Let's see. Let's play that instead. Gain 4 life. Or get some counters. Let's see, that was a... That one added mana. So Paradise Druid is different than another Druid, but the art looks almost exactly the same. Because there's another Druid that gives you a +1/+1 counter and has hexproof on it. I wish they would do more to differentiate the art on some of these cards. Make it a little bit easier to recognize. Right. Invoke. Exile target non-land. Auto pay. To exile that. Check out there's an article of WWE 2K20 is a mess apparently. It seemed like that was going to be the case, but even by average terrible wrestling games, this is like apparently from what I'm hearing really, really bad. And I suppose people aren't happy about it, but then I also kind of suppose people will buy it anyway, so this is gonna be bad. Alright, give me a land so I can play another land on the field. Next, what is this symbol? Vigilance? Okay. So I could give it +1/+1 and or +2/+2. But yeah, it does seem like people are just not happy, and I can't say I particularly blame them. The Epic Games Store has released this new game called The Cycle Season 1, The Lost Prospector, which looks to me like it's a Fortnite clone from the developers of Fortnite, or maybe a Destiny clone. It's free, it's multiplayer first-person shooter, the rating is pending, so yeah, check it out if you're interested.
I am what they call me. A monster. We are the apex predators.
This is probably the biggest news of today. Call of Duty Modern Warfare Russia PS4 edition has been refused sale. Russia has been relatively good about not actually banning or refusing sales of games. Now, inherently, I think a lot of that probably boils down to the fact that there's rampant piracy and theft, and even if you're like buying a game in a store in Russia, there's a decent chance that you're getting something that has been pirated. So knowing that is part of the issue, that's in part why they don't Why couldn't I use that? I think I auto-passed to my own demise there. Let's see. Convoke. Create 1/1 white soldier creatures with lifelink. So I can make a bunch of soldiers next turn if I can stay alive. But yeah, I could imagine that some of Call of Duty's Middle East settings probably does not bode well politically for Russia, because Russia is on one side of the Middle East conflict, and I'm not going to say there's a good side or a bad side there. It seems like it's just constant war for constant war's sake. Whereas the US is on the other side, or at least they were until recently. Again, I don't think either side is particularly in a good place. There's really no desire on the part of, let's see. Oh, he's just gonna concede. Interesting. I guess he got his win, and that's all he cared about, is that he knows that he won, so he'll just move on. Whereas I'm gonna call that a loss, move on to the next deck. Yeah, there's not a lot of desire like there used to be, and frankly there wasn't a lot of ability to interfere in the United States Civil War too much. But that was also, the United States Civil War is an example of what happens when countries don't like push for democracy, diplomacy, and try to reduce the amount of fighting. Also, weapons have just become so prevalent and so powerful that it's not a civil war where brother versus brother is shooting each other with a slow loading musket. Now people are literally like shooting people with automatic weapons, bombing them, firebombing them, using chemical warfare, even though that's against the Geneva Convention. Just straight up ethnic cleansing people. So yeah, I don't think we can do it like the days of the Civil War, but that is the only thing. Frankly, if it wasn't for the horrific scars and bloodiness of the Civil War, I imagine the United States would have fallen back into states versus states fighting over and over again throughout its 100-200 year history. So sometimes I think violence is the long-term solution to convince people that violence isn't the solution. People get forgetful very quickly. Go ahead and play that. Do I want haste? Sure, give me haste. Attack. Attack. Target. Can't block. Next we have a game on Steam, Lonely Mountain Downhill. This looks like it's a low polygon, probably asset flip game where you're rolling down a mountain. I think this is kind of the problem why we really haven't seen any dirt biking style of game. Like, is it, or like mountain biking, I guess is what this is that you can't really wrap a game around that concept very well. This is $19.99, and by the looks of the graphics, that's not really worth it. It says it supports a bunch of languages. Yep, it's rated positively, but frankly, I just don't see a game here. I would have wanted to see a bunch of like checkpoints or tricks or collectibles, something that would potentially give me more of a reason to bike around an area. Riot is +1/+1 or haste. Right. All attack. Attack. That one can't block. Yep. Suddenly with that cough, I kind of don't feel good. Interesting. Next we have a game on Steam called Dredgers, which looks like a top-down... It's being called an RPG roguelike according to the tags. I'd call it a roguelike, if that's what it looks like. $10.79, English only, discounted. Not really seeing anything amazing here. The thing particularly about roguelites is because they take so much time, they're designed to be played over and over again. You've got to be on the top tier of that. Like, Rogue Legacy still exists, and if you haven't played Rogue Legacy, you probably should play Rogue Legacy. There's several other games that I could probably mention in that same concept. So another haste. And I guess we attack? Can't block. Can't block. Might as well do that. Gamatsu has an article here. Monolith Productions 25th anniversary live stream set for October 25th. They've been building up the hype to celebrate the 25th anniversary. Seems like they've got something really to announce. Like, something here is going to be announced. And I assume it can't be the next Shadow of War game, where it really should be. Unless you phrase it in such a way that Monolith Productions now has complete ownership of the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games, and they're going to totally not have microtransactions BS in it, and it's going to be way better than Shadow of War. Even then, I think people were kind of tired of the Nemesis system, even in the second Shadow of Mordor game, Shadow of Mordor. So I don't think they can integrate the Nemesis system into every other game that they made. It kind of might work if you're making a horror first-person shooter continuation of the Fear series. That might work, but yeah, it also might be an example of them just wasting programming resources to put in a Nemesis system into old games. Apparently Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment owns Monolith Productions, so I also wouldn't be surprised if they are just going to announce some Warner Brothers Batman style game, which really that would make some sense. Is that, like, we now have the Batman license, the people who made Arkham City and that Batman series are out because that game was so bad. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they don't really have anything new to say. And it wouldn't shock me if it is really just a straight up celebration. Next, we have a Gamatsu article for the PS4 and Switch. The Famitsu sales from 1014 to 1020. The Ring Fit Adventures for Nintendo Switch, one out. Then Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. Then Dragon Quest S. I think Friends of Mineral Town might be the name of Harvest Moon because of a license thing, so it's like a spiritual successor to Harvest Moon. Game, can you just move? Like, it's them not moving. Dragon Quest 11 for the Switch is selling. Disney's Tsum Tsum is still selling. Minecraft for the Nintendo Switch is still selling. Mario Kart 8 is still selling. Super Mario Maker 2 is still selling. Monster Hunter World is still selling. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and then The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is new in the 10th sales spot. Take note here, there was no new 3DS or 2DS games in the top 10 this week. No Xbox games, no Vita games, which the fact that even Xbox is beating the Vita shows that the Vita is quickly losing favor even there. And I guess this is the Wii Ring Fit Adventures. It's kind of hard to even recognize that that's what that is, but yeah, I think that's the Ring Fit Adventures. Come on, game. Just concede if you're not going to play. Fine. I'm going to take that as a victory because I think I would have won there. I was in a good strategy, and so I want to play again with that deck. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here. Darksiders Genesis grabs a pair of release dates. It's 15% discount on pre-orders, making it $25.49 for the game. Let's see. It launches Valentine's Day the 14th, except for on PC when it releases December 5th. So that's a pretty big gap there. Of course, it's really hard to justify buying or playing Darksiders Genesis when I didn't buy Darksiders 3, and I think honestly there's a lot more reason that I would want to play Darksiders 3 than Genesis, and maybe then I would, after playing 3, I would play Genesis. But Genesis is this still kind of side game that I'm not sure that the Darksiders series deserves to have a side game, considering how every single main game is effectively a side game because they changed the gameplay styles. It is a series that I'm just kind of hoping can finish on a 7.5 rating and not a series that ends up ending at like a 5.0 rating. And that's like my best hopes for the series, is that I kind of just hope that it doesn't completely poop the bed in its final act. And then maybe if it does the final game in the series really, really well, I should have played this card first, then maybe at that point it will set itself up for some kind of spin-off reboot series that takes the characters and like turns them into something else, into something more consistent. But I definitely don't have a lot of faith in THQ Nordic. There we go. Riot and Riot, which I don't know if that does anything. Yeah, I don't think having Riot twice does much, but we'll see. This probably needs to be the last game in this recording, and we need to make another hour of recordings, because honestly I'm not going to get everything done. Let's see. This. So if we have Riot, do we get +1 and then +1? Yes. So we can get +1 in haste and then attack. Or we could have gotten +1/+1. TechRaptor has an article here. Next wave of Xbox Games Pass titles have been announced. So we have a picture here for the Outer Worlds, Minute, After Party, Lonely Mountains Downhill, which we just looked at, Secret Neighbor, Subnautica, and Star Wars 3, the Clone Wars game, which is not as good as the other Star Wars games, but if you'd seen the Clone Wars cartoon, which is also a little questionable now at this point, it's not terrible. It does have a weird real-time strategy mini games, or like frankly half of the levels are this weird real-time strategy thing that you have to do over and over again, and it's pretty bad. So it makes Lego Star Wars 3 particularly difficult if you want to 100% it, because you get locked into things that are very much not what you're expecting from a Lego game. But still not as bad as Lego City Undercover. That one still was like the worst. OpenCritic has a new feature that's, I think, worth mentioning. You can now browse game subscriptions. So for instance, if you have Xbox Games Pass Ultimate, then you can now search games under that tag, 274 games in total that are worth, that are in their catalog. So then if you wanted to only see the mighty ones, well, how do you do that? Because there doesn't seem to be a link there. Sort, order, score. Okay. Yeah, you can just search by score that way. So that's kind of nice. Alright. +1/+1. And then next, all attack. So yeah, I guess OpenCritic does give you a potential chance there of having a way to find some of the best games if you're just really looking for games, instead of my system, which is to just buy games that are on sale on Steam and try them out. But that's not the best system, I imagine, if you wanted to be more of a curated experience. Of course, you have to listen to the collection of mainstream critics that comprise the review scores on OpenCritic, so you have to decide whether you're in line with those reviews, and lately I've found myself to not really be in line with a lot of these things. Final game we'll talk about for this recording, we have a game here called Area Z, which it is getting me a little bit. Like the idea of an attractive girl in scantily clad clothing in a survival game does appeal a lot more than Minecraft Steve running around in a Minecraft survival game. This game actually does look a lot like it has more to it in total, more visual polish and maybe more gameplay. I think this is all a scam though. But I'm gonna put it on the fall list. I think this is probably an asset flip game that has just been slightly more visually polished than others. It's early access. It's $11.84. It's German, Czech, and Italian, and it has a third-party EULA. This might be an example of a game that is actually the developer is actually attempting to make a good game, and maybe they just don't have the resources for it. In a lot of ways, it feels like what the beginning of the Tomb Raider Reboot 1 game should have been, where she was just on the island surviving for a while before the main enemies showed up. But that's definitely not what happened in Tomb Raider 1. You very quickly find some major enemies, and you very quickly find a bow, and you can hunt a few animals here and there in some hunting areas in the Tomb Raider reboot. But survival and building a place of safety and a camp and things like that definitely weren't a factor. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Right now, I'm trying to get someone to gift me either Snake Pass or A Hat in Time. That way I can compare it to Yooka-Laylee, which I just finished playing. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.